I had a intention of doing this with my second. I have definitely not done that. I didn't even remember that that was on that list. That was something I planned on doing with my second that I did with my first. Still going strong. Didn't do that. Hi everyone, and welcome back to today's episode of the Hyla Home. Here we talk about motherhood, natural living, and homemaking, which includes renovating our 1940s home. Today, I want to actually reflect on a blog post I posted around the second trimester of my second baby, which was things I am doing differently and the same for baby number 2. Now, I kind of want to reflect on this because obviously this was what we're doing the same based on my assumptions. And so I've kind of since then changed some of the things I was going to do or wasn't going to do. And so I just wanted to update you on that. And I thought it would be a good topic, seeing as how I just shared with you my birth story, which you can view here. Before we get started, I just want to say, I know you can hear some like white noise in the background. It's because my son is sleeping in his swing, and I have recently discovered that he sleeps really well with white noise. He'd been going through all sorts of sleep regressions until my husband just started playing ocean sounds, and then he was like out. And so now I have white noise going all the time. So I apologize for that, but just bear with me. So what I'll go through first is the things that we're supposedly doing differently from this blog post, and then I'll just kind of go off from there with the things that we are actually doing differently. The point number 1 that I said was breastfeeding from demand right at the start. With my first, and I've shared a little bit about this on my blog, I was very into schedules, and I had been told you have these wake windows, sleep, eat, and wake, and then nap time again. And so I kind of just assumed that it would all look like that my baby would sleep for 2 hours, she'd wake up, she'd eat, she'd stay awake for another 2 hours, and then she'd go to sleep on her own. And I was so stuck in that mindset because I had heard so many things like babies are consistent, babies love routines, and all of these things, that when it came down to actually having a newborn, it was so overwhelming for me because I thought that I was doing something wrong. I didn't realize that babies really just want to nurse pretty much all the time, and that is their source of comfort, and that they really don't have very long wake periods. So with my daughter, she really wanted to nurse, and she actually got frustrated, and I had to do supplementing for the first week of her life because I wasn't breastfeeding on demand. So that is actually something I did end up doing with my first, is I just immediately nursed him. Anytime he cried or fussed, I offered him to nurse and eat because I knew not only was that sustenance for him, but it was also comfort. So I didn't do that with my first, and once I realized that babies are kind of flexible and that they don't naturally fall in these rigid routines like I had been told, that it would be best if I just tried and offered him to nurse every single time he was fussy or crying. So, and I don't mean to say that you don't change a baby's diaper, you don't make sure they're warm, you don't put them down to lay when they're tired. You do all those things, but most of the time it's just they want to be on you. And for the first 2 months of my son's life, he hardly cried at all because I just nursed him when he cried, and he was just so happy. The second thing that I was doing differently with my second versus my first was taking a prenatal. I did not take prenatals for my first. I was very against it, and I instead took all of the vitamins separately. And so I took vitamin D, I took folate as opposed to folic acid. There's a whole reason behind that. And I took calcium and vitamin C and vitamin B, and I just took all the things separately as vitamins. So I looked at what your normal prenatals were, and then I got that because I wasn't really sure exactly which prenatal to go with, which one would be safe for me. I had heard a bunch of things that prenatals didn't actually have great ingredients. So with my first, I just bought all the vitamins and them that way. Now, I will say I had very, very bad acid reflux towards the end of my pregnancy with my first. And so I decided that that was something I was not going to do with my second. So with my second, I did a whole lot of research, and I decided on Fullwell prenatals, and I took those instead. And I'm very glad I did because that was so much easier. And with that, my midwife still recommended that I take vitamin D supplement, and then I also took a omega-3 supplement in the form of fish oil as well. So I took a prenatal, and then I also took vitamin D and omega-3 with my second child. Now, and like I said, with my first, I just took all of the vitamins plus those as well. So it was definitely easier as far as vitamins consumption goes because I wasn't having to take all of those different pills. The third thing I have on my blog post is dress and swaddle and wool. I had a intention of doing this with my second. It just really didn't happen. I never actually ended up getting a wool swaddle, even though I really wanted one. It was just really wasn't in the budget when it came down to all the different expenses. And then I did dress him in wool as much as possible, much more than I did with my first. But at the end of the day, wool can be pretty expensive and it can be kind of hard to launder. So I didn't end up putting him in wool quite as much as I would have liked, but I still did make an effort. So with my first, I was really concerned about natural fibers. I had tried to make an effort to only put her in cotton, linen, or wool, but I didn't actually really pay attention to the clothing I was buying. So a lot of her clothing was blended. So it was like cotton and acrylic or cotton and polyester. Well, with my son, because I had so many clothes from when my daughter was born and also just from what I had purchased, I actually was able to get rid of any of the stuff that wasn't 100% cotton, linen, or wool. And so he never had to wear anything that wasn't a natural fiber. I know not everybody has that option. So that was just something I was blessed that I was able to make a choice on. Whereas like I know ordinarily that's not necessarily something. A tip I would actually have for that is ask for natural fiber clothing, but in neutral colors. I did that. And so I had a lot of items for my daughter that I was able to use for my son because I knew we wanted to have more children. And I think the nice thing about that is you can have like a white t-shirt and like some gray leggings. And if you put like a cute pink bow or a cute cardigan, you can make the outfit girly or more boyish without having the whole outfit have to be like boy or girl. So this next one's really funny. When I was pregnant with my first, I was very determined to not wear Depends. It was a pride thing and I was very quickly humbled. So I went to the birth center with my first with absolutely nothing but reusable period pads because yes, I do use reusable period pads, or I have in the past, and some small thin pads by L, which I now know is not like a great company, but that's all. That's all I had. No, nothing. No Tylenol, no cleanser, no peri bottle, absolutely nothing. And our birth center had pre-warned us that, hey, we provide you everything while you're there, but like as soon as you leave, you need to have the stuff on your own. So here's a list of things we recommend. And I was like, I don't think I'm gonna need that. I quickly learned that that was wrong. And fortunately, I was so blessed, and I still feel bad about this, but a sweet, sweet mama at our birth center had her birth not go the way it planned. She ended up having a hospital birth. And because of that, she had some postpartum stuff that she didn't end up using. And she put it in a little care package and she had left it at the birth center for a woman who was in need. And I happened to be that woman because I hadn't brought anything for myself because I just didn't know. And so it was given to me and she had written like the sweetest card. I'm pretty sure I was like postpartum crying about it because it was so sweet. It had a peri bottle, it had Depends, it had maxi pads, it had literally everything. It had 2 of those really nice cooling pads by Freedom Mom. Oh my gosh, so amazing. And so that really was an eye-opener for me. So one of the things I put on that blog post was buy postpartum products. Like, you need to. So I did. I got all the things, learned my lesson, realized I do indeed need them, and so definitely something I did do differently with my second versus my first. The next one is baby wear from day one. I don't even know what it was with my first, but I did not baby wear her for a really, really long time. She was almost 2 months by the time I started baby wearing, and I don't know where I was. It's not like I didn't know about it, but I didn't have a wrap. I didn't have a baby carrier. I guess it wasn't something that fazed me as something I was going to do, if you could believe it or not. I started following Let's Talk Baby Wear on Instagram, and I knew I was going to go back to work. And when I saw her account, I was like, oh, this is how I'm going to go back to work. Because at that moment, I was like drowning. I did not know this baby wouldn't be on me all the time. I was holding her. I was just sitting with her during all her naps because she was just that clingy. And I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. So I looked into baby wearing after being exposed to Let's Talk Baby Wearing's account. And I invested in a couple of different wraps of multiple wraps now. And then obviously like full on soft structured baby carriers. So with my second, one of the things I put on there is a baby wear from literally like day one. And I didn't bring a baby carrier down with me, but as soon as I was home, I baby wore because I really didn't get much of a postpartum rest after having my second. So baby wearing was definitely a thing I did from the start. The other reason I put that on my list is because with my daughter, when I introduced it, with her being 2 months old as opposed to her like being a newborn, she didn't like it. I had to get her used to the baby carrier before she really acclimated it to it and I was actually able to use it for work. Whereas for him, since, he was so used to it from day one, I never had to do that for him. So yeah, baby wear from day one, definitely something that was on my list and something I actually did. Elimination communication from the start. This is on my list and this is not something I've been starting. I wanted to do elimination communication from the start because I remembered with my first getting up all the time in the middle of the night to change a poopy diaper. I remember there was one time, postpartum new mom, laying in bed, and I knew she pooped because I heard it, and I felt like crying because I was so tired. And my husband went back to work like the next week. He did not get much time off for our first, and he gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning and leaves, so he's gone by 5, and so I was just on my own, not able to get anyone to help me with this. And I was just so sad and so tired. And when I was home one time, like I'd nurse her and she'd poop and I'd go change her diaper and then I'd finish nursing her again, she'd poop. And anyway, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to do elimination communication from the start. I didn't end up doing that. He hasn't been like that as far as his poops go. I do kind of wish I was doing elimination communication. I feel like he'd be really good with it because he's super regular and he's just pretty smart anyway. And he has tummy issues all of my children have where, I always can tell when they're about to use the bathroom. So I definitely could have, but just having a toddler, having him, doing this, finishing up my degree, working part-time, it just wasn't feasible. So unfortunately, that wasn't something I got to do. It's not that I don't want to do it because I know it's easier when they're younger. So much easier if you can start when they're young. But it's just really not for me in this season of life. Maybe once my oldest is potty trained, which we would like to get done sooner rather than later, but probably not before then. Utilize a changing table. This is something I did. Now, I recently just got rid of it because I'm not up in the middle of the night changing diapers all the time, but something I really wanted with my first was a changing table because I had like a tiny little dresser that was like this tall and my back killed me because I would lean over that thing. And my daughter, she was always like a pooper and peer, like right when I changed the diaper, like as soon as I had the diaper off, everything came out. So my son's not that way, which is kind of funny because I've heard that boys are more like that, but definitely it was rough. So yeah, with my second, I did get a changing table and I had it in our bedroom until just recently and I just got rid of it. So it was one we had borrowed, so now we're giving it back. So it's not like we threw it away or anything, but yeah, definitely something I did. I recommend that if you're going to be in the newborn phase, probably get a changing table because it's definitely helpful for those first few months. Cloth diaper with wool. This is something I do not do. In fact, I'm about to get rid of all my cloth diapers. I love the idea of cloth diapering with wool, and maybe I'll do a whole separate video on why I'm not cloth diapering with wool anymore, but it is just so much work. With us washing dishes in the bathroom and using the bathroom and sharing the bathroom with guests and the bathroom being literally our only sink, it's not doable to also be washing wool diaper covers and drying them. I recently washed a load of wool diapers and I did something wrong and I let them sit way too long, like days, and they all smell like manure. All of them. I don't even know how to fix that. So we're not cloth diapering with wool. I just, between the hand washing and the lanolizing them and separating them out because the dyes leak, we're not gonna go there. I'm not going to do that. And so that was something I had intended to do with my son. It was something that for a season was really great, but is not something we're going to continue doing. I'm laughing at this one because I don't even think I'm going to do nap schedule. I have on there start a nap schedule at 1 month. And I'm like here at knocking on 4 months thinking, I don't even think we'll ever do a nap schedule. So obviously I had different ideals. With my daughter, nap schedules were essential because I didn't realize the wake windows. Once I had decided that I was just going to breastfeed on demand, everything became like super loosey-goosey. And she was always super tired and she was just crying and she would get overtired and then she would fight tiredness. Well, nap schedules schedules were super, super helpful for me during that time because I then could kind of estimate wake windows and know, because time will just catch up to me and then an hour will go by and I won't even realize it. So for me, the nap schedules were more like, oh, okay, it's time to put you down for a nap, and she wouldn't get so overtired. It wasn't like a rigid thing or anything like that. It just helped me not keep her up so long, which in turn would help her go to sleep easier. So on that, I had put our nap schedules at 1 month, I guess in theory, so that I would know my baby's rhythms better and be more in tune with them. I have definitely not done that. I didn't even remember that was on that list. And I don't even know that I'll do that because at the moment of the phase of life we're in, my daughter is so loud. She gets that from my husband, although my husband would say she gets that from me. I don't really think we could do the whole nap schedule thing. I just put him in the wrap, turn on some white noise, and he can just sleep when he is ready to sleep. If he's in the wrap, he'll go to sleep really easily, and then I can lay him down. If he's not in the wrap, then he'll fuss, and then I can put him in the wrap, and he'll be quiet and go to sleep. So I'm not doing that, obviously. I think it would help him because there are times like he's going through a phase where it's really hard for him to fall asleep if it's bright out or if there's a lot of noise. So I know he'd probably like that, but I just really can't afford to just put my daughter in a room unsupervised and set him down for a nap. That is something we are not doing. What I'll do again. So this is the list of things that I planned on doing again, and some of them I didn't do and some of them I did do. Breastfeed, obviously. That was something I planned on doing with my second, that I did with my first. Still going strong. Still actually nursing my first. We haven't ever ended that, so tandem nursing and all. Wait to introduce the pacifier. So I have kind of a funny relationship with pacifiers. With my first, it was kind of forced on me, and I wasn't ready to give it to her. It was given to her during a stressful time. Someone was trying to be helpful, and I ended up being like, absolutely no, we're not doing the pacifier thing. Well, and then I waited, and around 4 months, she was starting to suck her thumb. She really wanted to suck our fingers, and I was like, well, I'll introduce it now. It won't affect her latch 4 months in, so I gave her a pacifier then, and she's had one ever since. So on my list, I have wait to introduce the pacifier. So we did, sort of, and I introduced it when I was ready to, about at 1 or 2 weeks, and he really took it well. I was wary on giving it to him because of his tongue tie, so I wanted to make sure that he was a strong nurser before introducing it. And everything was good. Recently, within the past month, he has completely stopped taking it. And so I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do. I've just stopped offering it and anything like that because I don't want to force it. I absolutely don't want to be one of those people that forces the pacifier. So we'll see. I might try, like I did with my daughter, reintroduce it at 4 months and see if he'll take it then. That is something I always encourage moms, is if your child won't take a pacifier at first, like my daughter, wait 4 months and then try it again, because a lot changes at 4 months. There's just like some switch and all of a sudden your baby like changes into a different person, and try it then because they might take it. And so I'm just waiting, and we'll see if he ends up taking it at 4 months. If not, then he's just not probably going to take a pacifier, and that's gonna be okay. He'll be fine. So I guess that is something that I'm doing again. I don't know. I did wait, so. Co-sleep until 4 months. So we are still co-sleeping. We're at 3 months, and I'm like, my heart's breaking that we're almost at 4 months. I did co-sleep with my daughter at 4 months. That was not my initial intention. I was very opposed to co-sleeping. I was one of those people who said, I will never co-sleep with my children. Ew, that's gross. No way. Beds for married couples. Strongly discouraged people from co-sleeping, and then, we didn't have heat in the middle of winter, so we didn't have an option. And then afterward, from what I've read, I believe that that's the right thing to do. I know there's a lot of controversy on that, but it's what we decided to do. We weighed the pros and cons. I, starting off, didn't even try to not co-sleep with my son. We just immediately started. The caveat with that is I don't know that we'll stop at 4 months. We did with my daughter, and we did a very, 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 very gentle sleep training. And I don't mean gentle by like, we laid her in there to cry for 10 minutes and we went in there and comforted her. No. I literally mean she cried and we picked her up. And we set her down, and if she cried again, we picked her up. Like, we did not let her cry at all. I would go in and lay with her. She would come into our bed. Like, it wasn't 4 months she was in her own bed. It was like 4 months she started acclimating to her bed by like sitting in there for a minute or so. Like, very slow process. Literally took 6 months to get her to sleep in her own bed. So I don't know if we'll do it the same. We definitely won't do any cried out or any gentle sleep training because we just don't believe in letting your babies cry at all. I know that's controversial. We're able to do that. That's a decision you and your husband need to make together. That's just what we came to. I don't know if we'll start co-sleeping at 4 months because right now he's still waking up in the middle of the night, and I just don't see us trying to put him in his own bed at 4 months. So it might be a little bit later. It might be more like 6 or 8. So we'll just play it by ear. Montessori floor bed. So when my daughter was moving into her own room around 4 months, one of the ways I got her to fall asleep at night is I would nurse her to sleep by laying on her little crib mattress on her floor in her room. We did the whole Montessori bed thing for like 3 months. I don't know. We did it for a while. I really liked it. But then she started crawling and that was just not in the question. So we got a crib instead. And I put on my list that I plan on doing that again with our second, but I actually have no intention of even trying to do that because I just don't think it will work. He's already so mobile at 3 months old. He's going to be crawling way sooner than she was, and I just don't trust him on a floor bed as much as I trusted her. And honestly, at this point, I don't even know where we would put it. Like, would we put it in her room? Him on a floor bed in her room? Like, that just doesn't make sense. So we're not going to do that. Ha ha ha. On this list, I have birth center birth. Ah, how funny. Of course, I intended to have a birth center birth with my second, but if you watched my birth story video, you will know that did not happen. It's on the way to the birth center, but didn't make it. So if you want to see that video in more details, check out the link below because I will be linking that video in the description. But yeah, check out the video and see why that plan didn't work for me. The other thing is cloth diaper from the start. We did cloth diaper from the start with my first, and we did cloth diaper from the start with my second. That is 2 things that we did continue doing, and there's really no reason. I mean, we had the newborn diapers, so there really wasn't a reason for us not to. I just knew that I wasn't even gonna ask for disposable diapers, that we had it in the bag. So just have been cloth diapering really all the time. The only time we haven't cloth diapered is when we went on vacation. We bought disposable diapers, so the only time we haven't cloth diapered. Oh, this one's really sad. This says take pregnancy photos. I totally didn't. My friend is a photographer, one of my closest friends, and she lives in Kentucky now, but for my first, she gave me like a free photo shoot and photos of me pregnant with my first, and I love those photos. And so I intended to get photos done for my second pregnancy. My husband took a couple with our camera, and they turned out okay, but like I didn't ever get professional photos done. So I think I also, in that blog post, intended to like take a month by month photo, of the pregnant belly growing. I also didn't get to that because we got pregnant a little sooner than we were expecting. So that's okay. That makes me sad though, because I totally would have done that. That is on my list of things to do for my next baby, but we'll see if that ever happens. Take vitamin D. That's on this list. Ooh, careful, bud. I did in fact take vitamin D with my second, maybe not as religiously as I should have, but I did do that. Use vitamin oil for stretch marks. I didn't use that in time. So I got vitamin E oil for my first, and I put it on my belly religiously at the beginning of the 3rd trimester all the way through, and it worked. Had no stretch marks. With my second, I just waited too long, and I have all these stretch marks, and vitamin E oil did not help at all. So they've started to fade at this point, but that didn't work. That was something I had intended to do. I just didn't make it to it. Drink raspberry leaf tea. Didn't do that. Not at all. I had intended to that. I had some left over from my first pregnancy, but we never got to that point. So didn't do that. And for those of you who are wondering why I would even do that in the first place, raspberry leaf tea is supposed to help prepare or soften your cervix so that you can have a very smooth and quick pregnancy. I didn't need it to be any faster than it was. So I didn't do that, and I'm probably glad I didn't. Eat dates. Same reason as the raspberry leaf tea, but I didn't do that. And I'm so glad. I hate dates. I remember I literally would count them out for my daughter. I'd be like, okay, I've got to eat 7, and then like hold my nose and like eat them. They're just too sweet for me. It's something about the sweetness and the texture. I just don't like it together. It's not a good mix for me. So I didn't eat them with my second, and obviously I didn't need to. My cervix was ripe enough. Take the Built to Birth labor and postpartum course. So I did the Built to Birth labor and postpartum course by Bridget Taylor for my first, and I'm just going to be honest, the breathing method thing totally didn't work for me. I was screaming through labor because the breathing method thing did not work for me. I did practice, I did do everything, I did try. It just was not for me during labor. In fact, for my second, I did the Bradley method. Definitely would play it. Bradley method minus the husband coaching part. So I have on my list to take that course again. I did start it again because she had updated did it, but I didn't go all the way through it because I already pretty much knew everything. Plus, I was kind of pressed for time because I was trying to finish up my degree. And so I didn't really go through that. It is a good course, especially informationally, if you know absolutely nothing about babies, which is where I was at before having my children, because I had just never been one of those baby people, didn't really like babies, never worked in a nursery, never babysat, none of those things. So it was helpful for me for like that aspect of like, hey, this is probably what you should expect since you literally have no idea. Everything else, like, it didn't help me for the pain management. So I thought it did with my first until I did like the Bradley method with my second, and I was like, no. And if you're wondering what the Bradley method is, there is a book. It's called The Bradley Method is the title of the book's name, and I bought it for my second, and it just has you practice relaxation methods, like actual relaxation methods, like physical, like you are physically relaxing your body, and that was super helpful to me. I didn't have anyone coach me, so you can do it without the whole coaching aspect, and I really encourage you to kind of be comfortable with that, because like my husband's not super comfortable telling me what to do in those sorts of situations. He doesn't know enough. So I just kind of use it for myself, and it really, really helped. Like, my second birth was way more intense than my first, but it was by far not as painful. That's everything I have on my list. Those were the things that I wanted to do differently or the same with my second child, followed up by what I actually ended up doing. I hope that was helpful for you. If you enjoy this sort of content, please like and subscribe so that you don't miss out on any future videos. I really appreciate you all hopping on to join me today. Thank you all, and you all have a blessed day. Bye!